tell you, at times I truly wonder
Recording.
just,
It just
well,
said got it.
okay.
Ah,
So, well, I guess we are live, and most of y'all are going to figure this out that we're on another live stream, not the one that was posted, but y'all will make it over. I don't understand what's going on, but flexibility, Trina, is the key.
that's right.
So welcome everyone as we give everyone a chance to figure out who and where we are, but we're here and we just speak favor over everyone. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Bosto and prosperity and happy
Yes.
birthday and protection. And wow. So Trina, how are you? I see that Bonnie's here and Lauren, Ginger,
Oh, yay,
Grin.
they're finding their way.
Yeah, they're
Yes, the
gone. Yeah.
notification just came up, so they'll find us.
Yes, they'll find us. It's one day it works this way, and the other day it works this way. But
You
is
know, it's
John, what's that, honey?
so glad you're smart enough to do it
Ah,
all. Like you
I
just drive
don't
this
know
bus
about
so
that.
good, Wayne. You just a good bus driver.
Whoop. As John Candy said about, I think one of the best Thanksgiving movies, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, he says, I'm just like the mighty river that flows. I just go with the flow.
Yeah.
So welcome, Robert Garcia and somebody and Kim B and D1. Good day. Isby, how you doing, brother? Steve, good to see you. Gaza, all the way from Australia, which must be like freaking 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning there, I'm guessing. Jill's good to see you as well. And hello, Marie. Eyes to see. How are you? Go. What's up? Trina, how are you? You're looking fabulous as always.
Thank you. And I'm wonderful. And Bosto to everybody. Favor be to all of you. Much love. And it's what a ride we're on.
Yeah, I mean, it is a ride because
Like
I
it.
got to tell you, Trina, wow, just, the overall conditioning of our species is being prepared for something that I don't think anyone's going to enjoy. And as you and I were talking before we went live, things like 9/11, things like World War II, these events that affect us all on a global scale, they take time to manifest because it has to be manifest in the spiritual, the creative realm, before it begins to penetrate and saturate this density and then take on the form of material and events. I don't know if you could say an event is a material event, but it usually requires material in order to make it an event.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think events might be how they map timelines. It's because it has a frequency, it has an emotional charge, and it's a strong charge. So like powerful events, those can literally, I think easily, I think that's how they travel to them. It's through memory.
Well, it's interesting responses on the Children of Fire. You and I were just reading one of the comments that was left by an individual who was basically calling me a liar. And, it's cool. I get called that much worse.
Right.
It just goes with the territory, because if you ain't agreeing with the Bible, then that just makes you the enemy, and so
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it does. It's like,
I
geez, wait a
know.
minute, I'm just a human being, give me a break.
Absolutely.
So when I wrote,
And we're learning from books that were written before the Bible.
before the Bible,
So what do you do with that? I mean,
well,
no,
you ignore it.
right. But I can't
It's
because
like, no.
yeah, people existed before the religions that we have now. There were other religions, but when you look at them, they all have so much similarity. So
They're all similar. They're all based on the
very,
same thing, and here is a absolute 100% the truth. There is no other truth but what I'm about to speak. There never was a Jesus. There was
right.
no dude that was, would be portrayed today as a bum, a hippie, going around and not having a job, and, preaching peace, love, and rock and roll. But that's an absolute truth. There was no person named Jesus. Now, if
It
you want to
wasn't
get,
even Jay.
wasn't that Jay doesn't even exist. So how
No,
could you
Jay.
call someone? Someone say, well,
Right.
now wait a minute. In the Hebrew, you know that the I, and yeah, I get it. But folks, there was no person named Jesus. So how does a demon respond to the name of Jesus when there was no Jesus? What is
Yeah.
a demon responding to?
hmm I think most often that would be the power of Christ. I'm pretty sure that's what they're reacting to, because
And
Jesus
Christos did
Christ is
not come about for after 100+
correct.
years when this dude supposedly was here.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, I was showing you this. This is my old
Yeah.
Bible.
Yeah.
Bought this in 1984. Has all of my notes. I mean, it's just marked up right up and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, I've read this book
Yeah.
and, you got a problem with this book. I mean, there's a lot of problems with the book, but here's my point. So I was really into the name it and claim it thing,
Yeah.
and I often found it interesting when I heard this cat and it's written that it says that ask anything in my name as representing all that I am and my power, and my Father who is in heaven shall give it to you. Now there's no conditions to this contract. And this is what it is. And I was like, okay. I took this literally, and I said, well, here it is. It's written right here. Ask anything in my name.
Yeah.
And it goes on. Here's another time. This is what I always found interesting. In 3 chapters, it states it 3 different times in 3 different ways. And it says, ask me anything, then I will do it. I myself will grant whatever you ask in my name as representing all that I am, and that's capitalized, so that the Father may be glorified and extolled through the Son. Yes, I will grant, I myself will do for you whatever you shall ask in my name as representing all that I am.
Yeah. And isn't it glorified because glorified through the Son? So the
So
Father is glorified through the Son.
but the problem is that it says in my name. Now, the interesting thing about this, and I'm going to break everyone's whole paradox, and all you haters out there, just suck it up, cupcake. The thing is, John, if John wrote this, never gave the name.
Yes.
Holy fuck, Steiger, what do you mean? Never gave the name. It says in my name, but never gave the name. Now, in Hebrewitic, that you just read the book of Leviticus, Deuteronomy, book of Numbers, book of Judges. I mean, this God is litigious. He writes contracts for it. So I'm reading a contract that says, I will do whatever you ask. It doesn't have any ask yous, doesn't have any clauses. It just says, ask in my name and I will do it. I will grant it, my Father in heaven. But then the epiphany that hit me, well, almost 6 years ago, I was reading this and I went, there's no name.
Yeah.
The guy wrote this thing, gave me the key, but he didn't tell me which lock. So I don't have a name in which to invoke. So folks, this is really important stuff, because this is the stuff that we're wrapped into. So anyway, I digress.
Not really. I think it's powerful, Wayne, because I think that's the whole trap, was there was given no name, because I think it's everyone's name. As children or whatever of God, or sparks of God, or whatever this God thing is, which I don't even know if that's a correct terminology for it. Whatever this is, it seems that it's consciousness. It's an awareness of life.
Scotty
So
Boy says, no name, no game, roll them up, boys. We're out of here.
yeah,
That's the point, Scotty. You're getting it,
that's what I
and
think too. And it's
there
like,
is no name.
well, if everything, how could you name all that is when you don't even know what all that is? You,
Yeah, but
how?
if you're a gullible individual and you're reading that, and let's say you don't have the rent money, you're required to give a tithe, an offering to the church, because the preacher's going to eat before you are, and then the preacher's got the staff. But anyway, I digress. But here you are, and you believe in God, you believe in Jesus. But my whole point is, folks, read this. It's very, if you cannot read and interpretate in legalese, you're already out. You
Yeah,
don't even have you don't have a place at the table.
right.
So anyway, for all of you
It
later
is.
on, just throw that in there. Tell me what the name is, because apparently John, who wrote the book of Revelation, not Revelations, this Revelation, who apparently knew in fact, they say his writings, if you can believe this, were actually the last writings of what they call the pure Greek. Doesn't exist today. And the thing about Greek, particularly the pure Greek, is that it's so freaking specific. There's no ambiguities, nothing left to chance. So John, who has this incredible intelligence, apparently writes this because he's apparently hearing the dude say it, because he's writing it in a first person tense, but never gives the name.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you can't show me anywhere in the New Testament where Jesus called himself Jesus.
See, and I've always had this understanding, if you can name something, you can control it or
Bingo.
own it or identify it as
Yep.
one thing. You've
Yep.
labeled it. You can't label creator. There's no label that's going to be placed upon that. There's no way. There's going to be no name ever.
So then how do you collect on the contract? How do you call saying, all right, what name are you going to, and is it the right name? I mean, I got the poster from Nathan, our friend over in Poland, the 72 names of God,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
why
have it on the Enochian wheel. And yeah.
that's when I'm going now. My mind goes to, if this truly is a simulation and all are fractals, so then within the fractal that I am sitting in, I have all within my fractal. So that would mean that every single living creature would be part of that. There would be no hierarchies other than the ones that you construct within your own mind.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that, I'm not anti-religion. What I'm against is I'm anti-ignorance, anti-knowledge.
When I wanted to know the truth, like the deepest part about Jesus, and if all this was fake, I was like, is all this just fake? Is all this just like a dream? Is all this truly what they say? Is this Maya? Is this the illusion? And everything confirms this might be very accurate. Science has just confirmed we are in a simulation. They've confirmed
That's
it
what
now.
they say.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Someone I could see in here said, the fact is that I'm not so good at legalese. That's a scoop. You're right, dear. A lot of people aren't.
Most people don't know legalese.
Yeah.
That's common, very common. Yeah.
I only got versed to it because of complex intellectual property litigation. And, when you have, and back in that case, we had 9 different attorneys on the case. And I mean, you're reading the briefs, you're reading everything that's coming out of the courts and being exchanged. You have to be very much aware. And the one thing I learned about, for instance, if you're about to be deposed, you are under oath. You can go to jail for lying. You can be sued by the other party for perjury, for lying, using deception. And these are all key words. And you, as you get prepared for a deposition, your advocates, which are your lawyers, you go through the fact of why this is so serious. You only answer the question that's asked. You don't give speculation. You don't give opinion. You stick strictly with what the question is asked. If you don't know the question in its full implication, you must state, I don't know. So my whole point, Trina, to all this is, is that if in the New Testament and all four of the Gospels, Jesus never called himself Jesus, then how do we really know what his name is? Wouldn't he? Because my name is Wayne.
Well,
That's
and
the
it's
name I
so
was
funny.
given.
What happened to the whole, when they asked Mary what was his name, she called him Emmanuel. Whatever
That's what she
happened to
said.
that
Yeah.
name? Yeah,
Yeah.
where did that go? That's the only
Well,
reference to
well,
the
that's too
mother.
long. I don't know how to spell it.
Right, that's the only one they say that Mary was going to name him Emmanuel.
Yeah.
He shall be called Emmanuel, which means God in us, God with us.
Yeah.
So it's another clue telling you this whole worship beings outside of yourself is a trap. Because if you don't realize that it's inside of you, as it is in every other person, there's no one greater than the other. That's a fact. But I do think there's different species here, some that don't have that in them,
Oh,
and
I
some that,
agree. I think
yeah,
there are many
and they
different
need,
gods. I
and
mean,
I think they need us, the ones that have the soul and the spark, to run their system of a simulation. Because what was getting me down this road, Wayne, was you kept saying, obviously we were created out of darkness, because you're right. The first thing was let there be light, which meant we were in the dark. It's like,
someone tried to argue that with me. They tried to argue the aspect too. When I asked them, I said, well, is God human? How can you say that? You don't know that. I said, even a simpleton can see wise when you asked a simple question. I said, well, if he's human, then why are humans worshiping another human? If it's alien and non-human, then why are we worshiping a non-human being? But you're right. It came out of darkness. I don't care what anyone said. You can give me all the hyperbole, say that, well, you don't understand the light. Well, the logos is what I'm reading.
yeah.
So if the Rhema, which is the word, the logos is eliminating the word, what the heck? So and why people can't accept that?
You know why? Because it breaks their reality into a billion pieces. And I understand it hurts. It hurts real bad. And I know the ego will defend your truth, because it doesn't like change. And especially a deeply embedded belief system like that. Oh, to shake that up rattles the whole system to its core. So I
And
get
here,
it.
yeah,
My
and
core
here
was
we
destroyed. So
debate
was
this,
yours.
and there is no Roman record. And again, the Romans were very litigious.
I know.
We have records of them, when a person was on the public toilet. I mean, but there is no record of any such execution. And the thing that, again, in here, and we're off on a tangent, we'll get back on course, but I ask Christians this all the time: tell me who Vespasian is. And then I want you to tell me, because what they'll do, they'll bring their banner boy, Josephus, as, the Jew representative and witness. No, you don't know who Josephus is. And I actually got a professor of theology, shut him down. I said, you didn't know the name either. And I said, well, here you are teaching religious comparative religions, and you don't even know the one man that you're saying is the representative of the truth. I said, Flavius Josephus, where did that know? Does anyone know what Flavius is? Who were the Flavians? I'll tell you who the Flavians were: Vespasian and his son Titus. So how the hell did a Jew that was a general with a renegade that was about to get his head chopped off suddenly become in the villa, in the compound of Vespasian, even after his death? And he adopted the name Flavius. That's history, folks. Your story doesn't jive. It doesn't jive at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
And even the book itself contradicts itself in so many different ways. And then you've got Old Testament, New Testament.
And that's what's it. They don't want to, the church isn't, the Catholic Church is about, they're talking about another council, because they got a problem. They got a problem, and that is their New Testament God doesn't line up with the Old Testament God.
At all. And many people are seeing this correlation.
Yeah, they're going,
it's indisputable. It's like, you got two gods in this book. They're
Yeah,
not
you
the
got one
same.
who's judging and
Yeah.
wiping out mankind right and left. Then you got this other cat who is a God of love. But if you have a God of love, 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8, it says that love never, never um, considers a wrong. It's willing to see the best of every person. It's ever ready to forgive. So if you've got that as the God of love, then that means there's no judgment. You can't have judgment if you have total love.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was
Here we go. Here we go.
there was in the book,
Yeah.
Yahweh book, it was talking about the sons of light and how they were Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahael, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. This is talking about the different layers and levels, and then it talks about all this stuff, and then it talks about a supreme creator, because when you look at the Nag Hammadi talks about the demiurge. So
yeah, well, you also have Psalms 84 that, in fact, it talks about this God Yahweh, the supreme Elohim, comes in. Go and check it out yourself, folks. Go read Psalm 84, and you will find that the supreme Elohim comes in and tells Yahweh and his fellow rulers, fellow gods. This is why we know there are many gods. And he said, as the way of man, meaning our death, so shall you be. Which says that Yahweh, the Elohim, the guy who created this whole thing, is going to die as well.
Yep.
Well, now, hell, Steiger, what the hell are you getting into?
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you start to really break this stuff down and look at different perspectives from ancient history, it blows your brain apart, because you start to see there's a lot of contradictions and a lot of holes, and a lot of things just don't make sense. But I think the bottom line is everybody's seeking just to understand more of the truth. None of us know. We're all speculating on what we.
Boy, I mean, you can't
to.
become so indifferent. I mean, so set, because it's going to be blown away.
Right.
Someone said in there, who said Bonnie, it's interesting because in this book, I read that to you, Treat, and this is what I wrote. Jesus is not my Lord, for Lord literally means ball. There never was a human born with the name Jesus.
No.
He said, and in here I wrote, I renounce this false God and all gods of this world, including this false deity.
Well, it's interesting, when I kind of thought everything might be false, an illusion, a trick, a dream. And then, we look at these movies, The Matrix, The Truman Show, all these different movies that are telling us about how it's all just an illusion. And so if we found out now that we thought we're in a so-called real world, which is very real, but it's a simulation. It's a 1 to a billion whatever chance.
Can I bring to your point to the surface? Yeah. Look at the world governments. Look at our government today. Our government is living an alternate reality.
Yes,
and it's so apparent. There is no truth today in our government. No truth can be found, but they claim to be the truth sayers. I mean, and then you look at the rest of the world. And again, it's that whole thing, with Steiner's talking about wisdom. There's no wisdom. There's no wisdom. Everything it's an illusion. And it's crazy. When you have the truth, it's like that person who wrote the comment you and I were talking about. When I use and quoted directly out of the book that there is a thing called a tithe, she says, well, you took that out of context. How do you mean I took it out of context? It's right there.
Right.
No.
I know. You can't, like I said, you've planted a seed that's irritating her. That's why she took the time to even come at you. So with that, that's all you can do. Like you said, you can lead a horse, but you can't make him drink the knowledge.
You can't. And I did say you can lead what I said, you can lead a horse to the source, but you can't make it think.
Yeah, that was so brilliant. I was like, Wayne, that's just so spot on right there, because that's
So
exactly
where the hell did that come from?
that's brilliant. See, that's the higher mind. That's your connection directly to the thing we want to know of us, is that part of us as God. And I think that's the thing they don't want everybody to know, is that this is not something outside of you, it's inside of you. And if more people really understood that, you would look at the other people around you
Yeah.
as that great. You
Boy,
would
you
have
really,
respect for your brothers and sisters.
yeah, because they're
You would
fellow
be a different
gods.
being, because you would, yes, you would know that that's a part of God.
It's like,
Like, this
that
isn't a
day will
bad
be a
way to think. This
celebration.
is a good way to think. This stops
Yeah,
division. This promotes unity and love and growth and healing.
it does. And that's exactly what'll happen too. It's the
Yeah,
fact that, hey, folks, if you realize that you're a god
we're part of it.
and you're
Yeah.
in with other gods, that it might be to your tactical advantage to get in agreement with those other gods, because
Yeah.
we could recreate something
Cooperation.
else.
Yeah, cooperation is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It works with love and favor and joy and community. They're all in the same frequency bands.
John says, never drink the water downstream from the herd. John, that is kind of a perfect metaphor, because they've been pissing in the water, and we're the ones bathing in it and drinking it, thinking it's just fine. It's I'm sorry, John. I just painted this thing, got it in my head. So, well, there we go on that one. And by the way, Trina, where were you 59 years ago?
I wasn't born yet.
See, there's the difference. I was 8. And again, y'all know today is the day that America sacrificed its president, one of our leaders. This is the day that John Fitzgerald Kennedy was assassinated on the altar of whatever the hell this is.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 3rd grade.
Wow.
I remember sitting in a class. I was living with my mother, so I was here in St. Louis. And it was interesting that there was a kid who had gone home for lunch and had come back with his mother. And I can remember the teacher getting up and going outside. And within, I guess, less than 10 minutes later, the principal came on the loudspeaker and school was dismissed because, President Kennedy had been assassinated. Yeah.
Wow.
I still remember John, coming out and saluting. The other thing is that there were only 3 channels on television. Well, excuse me, PBS has been around, but the 3, because they all went off the air usually about midnight. And in this case, I remember all of them staying on 24/7 with the cameras in the rotunda as President Kennedy lay in state. Yeah.
Wow.
Very vivid memories.
See what I mean? Those are major events that lock timelines in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
Blazing
that's
River says, I remember watching the funeral on TV. He was in Baldwin, Missouri. Yeah. Gary, you're right. ABC, CBS, and NBC. That was the 3. Yeah. Wow. Trina, I tell you, it's something I have become increasingly more concerned, because I keep seeing the fact of we're being conditioned. I don't know what's coming, but all of us have felt it. Many of us have felt it for years, but it seems like it's starting now to come to fruition. And it occurred to me that the way that you get through this is that you have this perpetual state of thanksgiving, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to aid in, if you have physical needs, it seems if you give thanks beforehand,
Mhm.
it seems to be part of that that chemical compound that, makes it become hot, and it becomes able to where it becomes malleable, and it becomes something that shows up in your life.
Absolutely. That's the attitude of gratitude is how you connect
Yeah.
to the higher vibrations. You have to get into a higher vibration resonance to actually commune with God. So
Hmm.
you have to elevate your own spirit. And that's the whole meaning of all of this. It's like learning how to control your internal system so you can raise your vibrations up so where you can actually co-create. And co-creating is what happens when you start to manifest in this reality, and you can do that. And there is a cohesiveness
Yeah.
to us that gives you that strength and force to manifest it out of the etherical into the physical world. But this comes through us.
Jay says the catalyst. That's the word I was looking for. It is a
Yeah,
catalyst.
that's
I want to give Steve Boa a shout out. Steve has been working with, I believe he said it was a music bowl and a particular angel. And he said that he wears a hearing aid, and he said that when he goes back into the room where he works with this angel, he can pick up in his hearing aid a high pitch vibration.
yeah.
And I wrote back to him and I said, well, congratulations. I said, you apparently have, and I read this, I've seen it myself. There are certain energetic beings that they do operate at a certain vibration, a certain frequency. And if you plug into that and they're receptive to it, I
Yeah,
mean, congratulations. High five,
yeah,
Steve.
that's
That's what I told
awesome.
him. I said,
That's
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I said,
yeah,
embrace that. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
That's all the people that get the ringing of the ears and then it goes away. Just that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's not tendonitis,
no,
that has a whole
mhm,
different thing. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes it feels like, for me, it's almost like you're being zapped, it's like,
yeah. Like I
okay.
feel like I'm going in a tunnel, kind of. It's like,
Yeah,
ooh, yeah,
like, man,
very odd.
it's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Uh, I'm just reading in here. Yeah, people are talking about the Steve. Yeah, it is true. I mean, it I have one of, I think this one is an F sharp bowl,
Uh-huh.
one of the
The
Tibetan
singing
bowls,
bowl. Yeah,
singing bowls. Yeah.
yeah.
And I love it.
Me too.
Yeah, I want to
Me
get
too.
a couple of the others.
I got one from Al. And by the way, your cards are on the way. They'll be there Monday.
Cool,
And then
cool.
here they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I've heard those who have gotten them that they are well done, and
yeah.
they are quite, the illustrations are, well, you can take a couple out and just show people, Trina, show people what's,
Yeah, I think they're going to be powerful for, guidance to look at things maybe from a different perspective. Because yeah, they're very pretty.
and if you use them, if you have freighters, 72 angels, yeah, the description is great. This is what, Angel
Yeah,
72. And what
yeah.
does the front side look like?
We've got
Because I believe they have the actual script name. Can you put this, what the
yeah.
angel card
This
with?
this is the back of all of them.
Okay, yep. And what's the other side look like?
We've got so many.
Now, I just need a couple. I just want to see
Yep,
one.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say I'm gonna grab some of these. There we go.
There we go. Yeah,
And the card stock is really good, and they're very good cards, well-made cards.
excellent,
Very well made.
excellent.
They're gonna be sturdy and strong.
And for those of you who weren't part of the teaching last year when we were doing this, all of this comes from the 72 Angels of Magic.
Yeah, which is this book.
That
And
book right
I
there.
suggest you get this book because this is a really good book.
Mine is so written up and it's got notes in it now. I mean, I use it as a reference book.
It's a powerful book, Wayne. I really like it. And I love it with the dictionary of angels to its side. I
Yeah,
like to work
Gustav.
both.
Mm-hmm. And if
Yeah,
you don't
I
have
like
that
both.
PDF, be more than happy to you. Lauren says, I ordered a set from Freighter Septic. So I call
Yeah.
him Nathan, and we love you, Nathan. Thank you.
Oh, guys,
He's expanded his work and his products. They're phenomenal. The link, I
they
believe,
are.
still works in the description section. So yeah. And the 72 coins as well.
Those are so pretty.
Yep.
Those are so pretty. I like
Well, I
those.
know there was a long wait on the card. Some of us got maybe a little discouraged thinking,
They'll be there though, right before Christmas. So yay.
yeah, far
Yeah,
out.
they're all going out now. Everybody should have them very soon.
Scepter 73 says, my wife has singing bowls with various resonances. Yeah. Now,
Yes.
if you really want to get into this, and of course, everybody's in a different place, but if you really want to work with these angels, I do recommend that you have something like the singing bowls, and that way you can begin to find out the frequency, and you'll be surprised. They'll let themselves know.
Yep. In the beginning was the word, which is a sound. So
It is a
sound is very
vibration. It makes you
Yeah.
makes you wonder then, if there was a word, then who's listening?
Wow. Right. Yeah.
I'm just asking. I mean, these are the things that, since I have, I don't know if you deconstruct or what.
Every time I think of that, Wayne, I see water. Like it.
Okay, and then
Water.
that means there was something there. It's one of those questions that my mind, and I realize that it's limited in scope, but yet I can still have this part that is unlimited, that if I spoke a word, I mean, that comes back to the thing that if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Correct.
So if you're telling me that God spoke a word, then who heard it other than itself?
But I wonder if that's only true in this dimension.
Well, true. I mean, there's obviously different rules.
Literally, I just heard yes, but it doesn't work like that up there.
I can hear him going, oh, that's true. But now listen, we got a whole different set of rules over here that you don't even know about.
For real.
I dig that. Yeah, I can dig that.
Totally.
I'm just trying, man. That's all I'm trying to, just
out.
Give me a break, man.
I know all of it. I know I'll never know all of it, but I need to know a little bit more.
Gonna be my new Biden imitation. Give me a break, man.
Right.
Come on, give me a break.
Just trying to figure it out. That's it.
I'm trying to figure this thing out.
That's right.
Burnett said there was a word, Wayne. The Atlanteans lost it. And the Jews say the same thing. They say, if you study their history, that when they were taken by Nebuchadnezzar into captivity, into what is modern day Iraq, that the generation that carried that knowledge died out, and they did not pass it on to the next generation. So when the Jews, the children of Israel, made it back out of captivity, and you can read it in the book of Nehemiah, they were lost. They didn't know who or what their God was. They didn't know what their ancestors had actually worshiped. True story, folks, if you read the book. So it tells me that you and I living today, we're living in someone's construct of what they could. I'm convinced that they reconstructed history.
Absolutely. I agree.
And then you and I become the threat. I mean, folks that think like us, because we're connected by a thread. I believe that.
I do too. Yep. It's definitely a stream of consciousness, and science has just confirmed that we don't have, our thoughts are not located in our brain.
Amen on that, sister.
Yeah, your brain is receiving it, but your thoughts are not coming from your head. They're not coming from your head. So that's another profound thing to contemplate. So it looks like, if what science is confirming at this time, that we're in a quantum reality, in a simulation. So that means that all of this is based on false light, and it would be created in the darkness because the light would have to penetrate the darkness because it was lack or void of life or light. So
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. So this is not where we're from. That's the biggest clue. So when you're stuck in a worship construct of the things of this world, thinking that the God is going to look like a human being, you have completely forgot what you come from.
yeah.
And that was done on purpose. So don't feel bad because it's the common collective conundrum. So
It is. Someone wrote about Nebuchadnezzar. It's an interesting thing about Babylon. If you
yeah.
study it outside of the dogma, the doctrine, that was a pretty magical place. I mean,
Yeah, like Egypt.
they knew something, and they had it in full operation. But the magic, and that's the thing that kind of bothers me, is that I can't find the what I would call legitimate resource of that.
I every time I think of the Tower of Babel, I literally see people in trance giving forth all the information from the universe. So they were learning everything because they learned how to get into different states of consciousness.
I had a dream once the Tower of Babel was actually a Tesla coil.
Oh my gosh, I've seen that too.
I saw it in a
Free
dream.
energy. It was,
That
yeah.
it was not what people are contrived, that these,
And oh my gosh, Wayne, you're exactly right. And it made the frequency so good, it created a heaven on earth, which would completely destroy this construct.
it's like Satan said,
And
only
they
one
got
hell.
Yep, got rid of it.
But that, think about it. Hello, Cheryl. Good to hear from you, dear. That's interesting because if the Tower of Babel and what it was, wow, if it was
Frequency
using
generating
technology,
system. Yeah,
yeah.
putting a frequency out that was like,
They said about Babylon that you could be 100 miles away, and the ziggurats that they had, and the way that they had them finished were much like the pyramids. They just illuminated when the sun would hit them, and you could see it like from 100 miles away. Which, I often think about this. So here you are in chains, being taken out of your country, moving, and they're taking you to this place called Babylon. And when you walk through it, I mean, you have these Ephesus that are just, yeah, they were using magic of some kind. We call it magic. I'm sure it was hidden knowledge. Isn't that the occult?
Like we're already using today, like when you look at a computer chip.
Mm-hmm.
These are all electrical power nodes on the planet. They knew how to utilize them and harness them and capture them, and it's all just natural free energy.
Scepter 70 says, English is a string of sounds built to confound the vibrations and hide the magic.
Yes.
I think you are correct.
Absolutely true. I do believe that.
I mean, when I was studying Greek, learning in Latin, I mean, I have this natural ability. I can read Latin, which tells me, I guess, in a previous version that it's somehow another, because I never took formal training in Latin, but boy, it's not that difficult to read. But that's the interesting thing about other languages. Many of them are very specific in what, like parlez-vous français. It's the parlez-vous français. And it's the same thing when I pray in tongues. Many times I can get into a particular chant that, as it's repeated, it's like the singing bowl. It begins to build this vibration.
Power of mantra.
Yeah.
That's it. It makes things move. Mantra, it moves things because it creates a field of vibration. And when you shift the vibration, it shifts the reality. There's no way around that. Those are the laws of quantum. It's just real physics.
Someone asked me in an email, they said, why do you still speak in tongues? I said, because it's powerful.
Yeah, and it's a gift.
I mean, it is. It's powerful. I have seen what it can do, and I see it outside of the religious doctrine. So something's up.
Absolutely.
I mean, you would think that if you left a religion, renounced it, and pretty much have, for your own self, seen where things are at, that, well, those gifts would be taken away.
Only the gods of this world need worship, but the true one doesn't. And see,
that's what my thing is. And so,
yeah, you get home because you realize that this world is not what you're from. This is not where you come from.
I believe that many of us can speak the angelic language, the light language, as they would call it.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yep.
John says a lot of Latin words are in English. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah, it's like and then the Tower of Babel too. It's interesting because let's confuse their language. That was probably the removal of all energy systems and put us onto the electrical grid systems where we have to pay for our electricity and our energy. It could be that, Wayne.
It could be.
And it could have been an introduction to a monetary system for the,
Well, that's the Babylonian system, the system of debt. I mean, that's where we learned that. And it was the children of Israel, the Jewish people, and that as it began to expand from Mesopotamia, Greek, Rome. Yeah.
It's like, let us confound their language. How better to do that than create legalese?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If this scenario is giving us a picture of what was there, so these beings, if they were the Elohim, it tells you their nature. What a bunch of freaking assholes to come down to think that they had the right to, number one, it's a violation of our sovereignty as a species, that they came in and did whatever they did. See, that's why I got this idea of a Tesla coil as the Tower of Babel, because that's the only way that you could affect every person in that vicinity.
Absolutely.
I mean, I get this idea is like there's tendrils of lightning, hitting every human, and it's hitting the frontal lobe right here. And if your particular voltage hit here, then you would have more of a Gaelic language. And that's what I see. I mean, it could be completely imaginary in my mind, but to me, it's the only way that they could have done it.
I think the concept is correct. It's something like that.
Something had to have done it.
From what I can remember, little pieces from when I've gone back into the Atlantean time, there were power centers all over the planet that were known as these cathode grids, these grid line power sources. And most of them had pyramids or temples or churches on them. And it's like a big computer chip system, the whole planet. I can see it as the same thing as chips. And this energy doesn't need, it's completely self-sustaining. It doesn't need anything. But they disconnected all that because they wanted to charge us.
And you see, you just brought up something as well, because, all of us, I say the vast majority always say the Bible, the Bible, the Bible. But here's the other problem I have in this equation. So when all this was going on in this little tiny country that, is insignificant in its size, did they really just borrow what the Mesopotamians had? Because, at the same time that the Mesopotamians were in their explosion of culture and society, we had the Aboriginal people down in Australia. We had Indonesia. We had the
China
and Indo-America. So why don't we study their gods, their writings, and make a comparative analysis? I mean,
in China, the Dogons go back way before
Christianity.
Way back before Christianity. And that's when you're looking like those teachings are showing you the dragon, the dodecahedron. They're showing you sacred geometry. I mean, they're teaching you some pretty deep stuff.
And pyramids have been found all over the world.
All over.
So that tells me that there was something. I mean, so my references, obviously, as I've read the Bible extensively, but, I found places like in Zechariah, where it talks about this flying saucer coming from Sumer, So Sumer is where Abram comes from, Abraham. He came from the city of Ur. We still, in fact, the city of Ur is still got one of the most intact ziggurats around.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
I
So
always wonder if Ur was the representation for Uranus.
I don't know. I don't know, but
Uranus, because Uranus
the
is always known as Ur or Urn.
it's interesting.
I know. Urn. Yeah, it's very interesting. And maybe that was when yeah, I don't know. I wonder that.
And the thing that gets me as well, so you read about this UFO, and the two pilots are female. And so I can remember decades going, all right, so number one, I didn't know what or who Sumer was, didn't know what the Sumerians were. I credit Dr. Noah Kramer, who actually was the one who broke the so-called Rosetta Stone for the Sumerian tablets. This is, and this is what makes it so interesting, because the knowledge of Enki and Enlil is really a very recent phenomenon.
Yes.
This knowledge was not known in the 1800s. There was no Enki, there was no Enlil, there was no Nibiru, there was no Anunnakians. I mean,
Yep.
so
It's all
that's
through
a
Sumer.
modern day aspect, isn't it?
Yes.
And
And there's so
now
much evidence on our planet that this, in fact, was part of our history.
and the book of Isaiah talks about a time when mankind was not on the planet, but there were cities everywhere.
Yes.
So if mankind wasn't here, who built the cities and who was occupying the cities?
10-1, it was probably the reptilians.
And I think it may have been
of this planet. That's why they say, no, no, no. This is our home. We were here first. So that's what I've heard. Yeah. But I don't know if that's, I don't know. But no, that's what I heard. Yeah.
They got the song. No. And then along comes Mary.
Think about it. It says we entered into a serpent system. We were deceived by the serpent in the garden and then kicked out. All this goes back to serpents. So I'm pretty sure if you're worshiping the gods of this world through these books, through the translations of man, you might be highly deceived, because you're missing out on the biggest part of you, which is way beyond a serpent system.
And it's very obvious. If you study, for instance, John's vision of what the throne room was, and then you had the four-headed beast that was representative of the four kingdoms. And so that, I mean, I don't know how a human would be able to interpret that. You have this creature, one creature that can spread its wings, and it has eyes everywhere that move independently. I mean, you get some of this really far out stuff, and you're going, you know what, Dorothy? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Trina. I think, as a bus driver, I'm telling you, it's not looking the same. The terrain is a little different here.
Yeah, and Nebuchadnezzar keeps coming into my consciousness, and also too the iron and clay. They mixed
the dream of Daniel. Yeah,
that's what's going on. Like, they're showing me this is
Dr. J. Vernon McGee. I took one of his courses, and extensively on the representation of the dream of Daniel. And many would say that we are in that time that Daniel saw, with the culture of man being the clay
mixed with iron and
mixed
clay.
with brine.
Irony, yes, iron and clay, because this is metals being introduced into everything now. So first time.
I mean, I look at this stuff, and so I have to today. I realize that, all right, so if they're stating that, then there should be correlating evidence of a separate source that could verify that these events went on. And therein becomes the problem, because to me, there seems to have been a systematic erasal of what we would call third-party verification.
Yep. There's an erasal of like lots of our history. And a lot
Yeah,
of people are digging it up right now, and it's so fascinating, the things that they're discovering. It's just
it's
mind blowing.
it's something as you begin to realize that, all right, so who did this? I mean, when I did the thing on the Tartarians, and we had the World Expositions from 1886 to 1916.
Yeah,
What the hell was that about? I
I
mean,
know. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
I
it's
think
like,
too, Wayne, if you do the research, I think that the two fairs, I think 1902 and 1903, it's one of those. There were 2 years where they were scheduled, but they never happened. 10 to 1, that's when the big caboodle happened. Whatever happened, happened.
whatever
Nobody knows
happened.
what happened. Nobody knows what happened.
Well, when the study that I found in the stories of the, and again, it can be manipulated, but
Yeah.
every one of these places and every one of the cities around the globe that hosted one of these events, the structures all burned down. There were fires, and you're going, I don't know, was that a disposal method? I mean,
You
just
know what?
and
I was thinking about that too. And think about it, what they've talked about with the planet system thing and how all the meteors and the asteroids would come down.
yeah,
That could be a potential of what happened. Could be. I don't know.
it just and then I'm always drawn back to Chicago when they hosted the World Exposition,
Mhm.
and the pictures that were drawn shows these electric boats, these electric people movers, but
Yeah.
there's no power lines, there's
Yes.
no
And the light
electricity, who hadn't
posts.
been discovered yet.
Yeah, and the light posts too. There was no wires. I
I
saw that.
mean,
I was like, this is interesting.
so
Yeah.
what exactly, where are they getting all this shit from? I don't know, but that's
I
what
think
makes
that
it
I think that
interesting.
I think the churches and the courthouses, all these big megalithic buildings and structures, those were the batteries of the system, and the steeples and stuff used to bring in the energy. There was a way they did this, and I
See,
know it.
that's a part of architecture that has been
Yes,
lost because
and
most
it's
people,
consistent.
yeah.
Everywhere you go, they all have these same things. So, and they're old, and I know that they were part of the energy systems. I just
Well,
feel
when
it.
you add the fact of human voices at certain octaves and these
Yeah,
huge mega, which are nothing more than sound chambers,
yeah,
and then when they brought in the old organs,
yeah.
the pipe organs, that when you added this, I have a feeling that forget CERN. I
Right,
mean, the
right.
Notre Dame was nothing more than a portal that was being opened to this God.
Yes, yes,
I
through the
mean,
frequency.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
sound that could be created within these buildings. It was about sound. And I think it was free energy. They knew how to bring in the natural Torah field energies out of the ethers into storage units.
and
And
these
those
spires
buildings,
all had symbols on them, all had sigils.
wow.
I mean, the cross itself is a sigil.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow. This is deep stuff. I mean, well, well,
That's what
Trina,
they keep showing me. They keep showing me a simulation based on thought. Thought is memory. Memory goes into computer systems, just like we're using computer systems now. They keep showing me too. They're like, understand the difference between meta and para. So they're like
mm,
metaverse, paranormal stuff. They're like, there's all these variations within it. So that could be the 3 different layers deep into consciousness that they're trying to get me to figure out. I don't know, but it has something to do with that.
I have a theory on this metaverse that it's actually a Trojan horse. They're trying to come in and backdoor the collective consciousness of humanity by creating this world that it sets to their rules. And I see it as a major threat to potentially future generations if we make it that far. But
What if the last time we did this exact same thing is what made us come into this right now? What if we're already in a simulation? We're already in stasis chambers. What if all that is real, like the Matrix shows you, the Truman shows you? It's like, there's something to this. And I know that there is. I don't know what it is, but I know that there is something very important to that. And
I
it's
feel
part of,
like the rat that says, forget the cheese, just get me the hell out of the trap. You know,
Absolutely.
I don't want the cheese, man. Keep the cheese.
Think about it, but the sparks are the stars and the stars are the rats. And if anybody can find their way through a maze, it's going to be one of those guys. So
I love it.
We're going to find our way through this crazy maze.
Trina, much love to you, dear. And we've gone another hour on this thing, but hey, have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
I know there are places in the world. I don't know if you celebrate it or not, but
I all of these holidays are based on pretty much pagan stuff.
Yeah, they are. All of them are.
Raunchy things like killing the Native Americans and stuff. So for me, it's a day to have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. You think about, take it from the turkey's perspective. I mean, it's like, oh, crap. I mean,
exactly. So, but
their Thanksgiving is my demise. Yeah, this really works out.
Yeah, but I think about that. We do that daily when we consume food. So it's a time to.
I tell you, my theorem that this is the death realm, more and more people I'm seeing are coming up, and in one place actually gave me credit for it. Because this is the death realm. But anyway.
Absolutely. There's no way around it. This is an entropy system. Everything here feeds or it dies. It's a death system, and everything here in the physical body is temporary. So with that, it's totally, there's no disputing that aspect.
None.
It's the death realm. We die here.
Here we go. All right, everybody. Thank you, moderators. Much love. I'll be on tomorrow, and love all of you. The system is a Trojan horse also. Paul Joe, it's a fact. It is true. But we just speak favor over all of you, and we speak Thanksgiving for you as well. And that's odd because my other computer just turned on and no one's near there. So
wow.
All right, there we go. All right, folks. Much love to you all. Miss Trina, see you next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Happy Turkey Day, everybody.
Have fun, everyone. All right. Much love, everyone. Bye-bye.